Welcome back to the deep dive. If you need a shortcut to being instantly well-informed about the people and ideas shaping our culture, well, you are definitely in the right place.
Absolutely.
Today, we are wrestling with a career that kind of defies categorization. It's a path that starts, believe it or not, in computational logic and somehow ends up in cosmic superpowers.
It's quite the journey. We're diving deep today into the really multifaceted life and career of Kumail Nanjiani.
Right.
And the scope of his work, I mean, it's almost bewildering when you lay it all out. Our sources map this path from, get this, a double major in computer science and philosophy.
Which is already wild.
Totally. Then years as a dedicated stand-up comic, then co-writing this huge Oscar-nominated film about his own, let's say, chaotic dating life. And then, completely reshaping his physical self to anchor these massive franchises. We're talking Marvel, Star Wars, a lot.
It really is. So our mission today, yours and mine, is to unpack those huge milestones, look at the key creative partnerships, especially the one, right at the heart of his biggest success, and really trying to analyze the maybe intellectual foundation that let him make these successful, sometimes really jarring pivots.
Yeah, we want to understand how a kid from Karachi ends up on the Hollywood A-list. And maybe it wasn't just luck, right? Maybe there was some kind of design behind it.
Let's try and figure that out. But first, let's ground ourselves. Give us the basic facts.
Okay, foundational facts for you. Kumail Nanjiani, born May 2nd, 1978 in Karachi, Sindh, Pakistan. It's Pakistani-American.
Okay.
His work now really spans every major medium. Stand-up, obviously, film, television, and he does a ton of voice work. Animation, gaming, you name it.
And recognition.
Oh, yeah. If you need proof of his cultural impact, just remember that in 2018, that was the year right after the Big Sick exploded.
Right.
Time magazine officially named him one of the 100 most influential people in the world.
Wow. Okay. That sets the stage. So let's unpack this journey. And like you said, we absolutely have to start at the beginning. Thousands of miles from Hollywood. His early life, his education back in Pakistan.
Right. We start in Karachi. He was born there, the older of two sons. His parents, Shavana and Ijaz Nanjiani, were Sindhi Shia Muslim couple. So his upbringing, his early schooling, it was all deeply rooted in Pakistan.
Some specific schools.
Yeah, he went to St. Michael's Convent School for his O-levels and then graduated from the Karachi Grammar School, which is, quite prestigious after his A-levels. This early environment, it really gives you the first context for those cross-cultural themes that pop up later in his writing.
And it's fascinating. That specific school, Karachi Grammar School. Sounds like quite the network. Our sources pointed out his class fellow there was Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy.
Wow.
Yeah. Who, as you know, became this incredibly celebrated international documentary filmmaker. It kind of speaks to the high-achieving environment he was in, even early on.
It really does. That's a serious peer group. And there's another connection, though more distant, to British media. The BBC radio presenter, Shireen Nanjiani, is his second cousin.
Interesting little detail.
But the really defining personal pivot, the huge life change, came when he was 18. He literally moved across continents.
To the U.S.
To the U.S., yeah.
Yeah.
Enrolled at Grinnell College, deep in Iowa.
Okay, and this is where, for me at least, the conventional narrative just completely shatters. When you hear about a successful comedian or writer, you expect maybe a theater background or English lit.
Or maybe economics, given Silicon Valley.
Exactly. Something that sort of tracks, but that's not what happened here at all.
Not even close. Nanjiani graduates from Grinnell in 2001, and he graduates with this truly unusual double major.
Here it is.
Computer science and philosophy.
Computer science and philosophy.
Yeah. This, I think, is the key insight we have to keep coming back to. It feels like the blueprint, almost, for his whole career.
It seems, honestly, it seems like a recipe for intellectual whiplash.
Yeah.
How do you even reconcile that? The super strict binary logic of coding, of system design, with the, fluid, subjective, big existential questions you get in philosophy. Where is the common ground there?
Well, I think the common ground is maybe sophisticated problem solving and system analysis, but just applied in totally different ways.
Okay.
Like computer science, it demands discipline, right? Structure. You have to define a problem super clearly within rigid rules and then execute a logical solution step by step.
Right. Code works or it doesn't.
Exactly. But philosophy, it forces you to question those very rules, those parameters.
Yeah.
It's all about critical thinking, ethical synthesis, digging into complex emotional or moral narratives.
So it's like he didn't just learn two subjects. He learned two completely different ways to think. Two operating systems for his brain, almost.
Precisely. I think that's a great way to put it. And if you look at his later work, you see this blend as the engine behind it.
Oh.
Well, he can genuinely speak the tech jargon, right? He can inhabit that awkward but still logically rigorous world of a programmer like Dinesh in Silicon Valley.
Uh-huh.
It feels authentic.
Okay, yeah.
But at the same time, he had the, let's call it, critical distance and emotional maturity, that philosophical synthesis to dissect and present the incredibly challenging cross-cultural emotional stuff in his own relationship for the big sick.
Ah, I see.
It's like this powerful internal toolkit for a modern, multi-talented artist.
That intellectual versatility, yeah, that feels like crucial context. Now, moving beyond academics, his personal transformation was just as deep, wasn't it? He was raised, you mentioned, Shia Muslim. Fundamentalist, the sources say.
Yes, described as a fundamentalist Shiite family structure, which is, a demanding system of belief. But today, he openly identifies as an atheist.
That's a huge shift.
It is. And that journey from a really structured religious background to atheism, it isn't just a personal choice. It's like a massive philosophical exercise, right?
Right.
You're dismantling and rebuilding your whole worldview. And that probably forces a certain level of critical distance, maybe even a humorous distance, from cultural expectations. And that kind of distance.
Yeah.
Well, that's often where great stand-up comes from, isn't it? The ability to point out the absurdities in the systems we inherit.
That makes sense. And while all this personal and intellectual shifting was happening, he was also forming the key partnership, the one that would really define his professional success.
Absolutely crucial. We really have to stress the importance of his marriage to Emily V. Gordon. She's a writer, a producer.
Right.
They got married back in 2007 at Chicago City Hall. So right at the beginning of his comedy career takeoff, their collaboration is just central to his breakthrough later on.
And they still work together.
Oh, yeah. They currently live in Larchmont, Los Angeles.
Right.
Well, as of 2022 sources. And their partnership seems very much one of shared creative risk, shared production effort.
Got it. Any other personal details that tie in?
Just one little fun one that actually connects to his early comedy and podcast. Our sources confirm he's still an avid video gamer.
Huh. Which, ironically, involves both logical structure, like computer science,
Rules.
and lookers,
Distance.
and immersive storytelling, like philosophy. It fits.
It really does.
Okay, so that brings us neatly to the comedy launchpad. He graduates with these impressive, probably very marketable degrees,
You'd think so.
and decides to basically ignore them, move to Chicago, and start doing stand-up at open mics.
That's the calculated risk phase, right?
Yeah.
He moves to Chicago, hits that brutal open mic circuit. And this is where maybe that discipline from the CS side kicks in again.
How so?
Because stand-up, especially early on, it's just a relentless grind. It's almost metric-driven. You have to be so precise about rhythm, timing, joke structure, or the system, which is the audience, just rejects you instantly. It takes discipline.
And he wasn't just doing like 5-minute sets and hoping for the best.
No, not at all. By 2007, so fairly early in that Chicago phase, he'd already written and staged his own original autobiographical one-man show. Yeah, and he performed it across Chicago, New York, and Los Angeles. So you can see him already road testing in a really disciplined way, that intensely personal material, the stuff that would eventually become the big sick.
He was refining the voice, the story.
Exactly, and building his industry resume pretty quickly, too.
Nice.
We see early TV appearances, like on The Colbert Report, which shows his knack for cultural commentary. Some occasional roles on shows like Michael and Michael Have Issues.
Right.
And by 2013, he was established enough to get his own Comedy Central special, Beta Male. So this wasn't overnight success. This was like a decade of really rigorous professional work.
And his TV footprint wasn't just stand-up specials. He started becoming a recognizable face in supporting acting roles, too.
Yeah, those early acting credits were really crucial for showing his range beyond just telling jokes. He played Gary the delivery guy in that 2013 indie film, The Kings of Summer.
Okay.
But maybe more significantly, he had a pretty substantial recurring role, as Pindar Singh described, as an agoraphobic fiction nerd in the TNT series Franklin and Bash.
Oh, yeah, I remember that character.
Right. He was main cast for the first 3 seasons, showing he could sustain a character within a show's structure, then came back as a guest in season 4.
And he was weaving himself into the fabric of the comedy establishment, too, wasn't he? Popping up in key shows.
Absolutely. He became a familiar presence. Like, he appeared across 13 episodes of Portlandia.
Perfect fit for him.
Totally fit that vibe.
Yeah.
And who could forget his turn as that statistician in Veep? Hilarious.
Yeah.
This whole period just proves he was adaptable, professional, and becoming kind of essential to that contemporary comedy scene.
But maybe the real genius move of this phase, looking back, was how he leveraged audio, the whole emerging digital space. His podcast work wasn't just a side hustle, was it? It felt like a launch pad, a network builder.
This is where that ability to see systems and build communities, maybe connecting back to that college thinking, really shines.
How so?
Well, first there was The Indoor Kids. It was a video game-themed podcast started back in 2011 with Ali Baker.
Right, tapping into his own interest.
Exactly. And later, Emily V. Gordon co-hosted it with him. So he's capitalizing on his specific niche interest and sharing it professionally with his partner,
Yeah.
building something together.
Then he jumped into that whole foundational world of like nerd comedy with Dan Harmon.
Correct. He became a regular on the Harmontown podcast, which was super influential, often pretty chaotic.
Mm-hmm.
He was often part of their long Dungeons and Dragons segments, playing a character named Krista Berg.
Mm.
And think about that for a second. D&D, it requires you to operate within strict, logical rules.
The system, the CS side.
Right. While simultaneously building a character narrative, an emotional arc.
The philosophy, the storytelling.
It perfectly mirrors his intellectual strengths again. It's uncanny.
But the deepest dive into niche fandom, and maybe the most impressive example of professionalizing that fandom, was his X-Files thing in 2014.
Oh, the X-Files files.
Yeah.
This was amazing. Nanjiani dedicated an entire weekly podcast just to deep discussions, reminiscences about the X-Files.
She clearly loved.
Oh, deeply. But it wasn't just a fan club chat. He brought in heavy hitters from the actual show, former writers, producers, actors.
Really?
Yeah. For these, lighthearted but still really professional conversations. He was using his network, his knowledge base, to turn this deep personal fandom into a legitimate, marketable piece of content. That shows real business sense, community organizing skills almost.
And all that groundwork, the stand-up, the TV spots, the digital community building, it seems like it all converged in a major TV show where he got to work directly with his closest collaborator.
Yes, exactly. The convergence point was The Meltdown with Jonah and Kumail.
Mm-hmm.
It ran on Comedy Central 2014 to 2016.
Right, based on the live show.
Based on that super popular live show at the Nerd Melt Comedy Stage in L.A.
Yeah.
He co-hosted with Jonah Ray. And crucially, Emily V. Gordon was the producer on that show.
Oh, okay.
So they'd successfully navigated from the digital audio space right into traditional television, but they kept creative control and really solidified their professional partnership.
Okay, this leads us perfectly into the breakthrough era. This is the phase where he stops being just, a really good working comic and actor and becomes a genuine household name, an Oscar contender even.
Mm-hmm.
And for most people, this era means two things: Silicon Valley and the Big Sick.
The visibility shift was huge and almost immediate when he started playing Dinesh Choktai, that main role in HBO's Silicon Valley. That started in April 2014.
And ran for quite a while.
Yeah, he was in it right through till 2019. And it was just such a perfect marriage of actor and material, wasn't it?
It really felt like it. How much do you think his actual computer science background played into how authentic Dinesh felt?
I think it was absolutely foundational.
Yeah.
The sources really highlight that the show's creators, especially the ones who actually came from the tech world, they really appreciated that Nanjiani could genuinely inhabit that awkward but still rigorous logic of a coder.
He got the mindset.
He got the mindset. He understood the system of that startup environment. The petty rivalries, the technical jargon, the almost childlike way they rely on precise, logical solutions for these chaotic business problems.
Yeah.
It wasn't just imitation. It felt like he understood the computational thinking applied to how people act. That's what made Dinesh feel real, not just a caricature.
Okay, so if Silicon Valley was tapping into the computer science side, then the Big Sick absolutely required the philosophy side, that critical, empathetic distance you need to dissect a really challenging personal story. This 2017 film, this was the truly transformative moment, right?
It felt like the ultimate calculated risk, looking back. Nanjiani co-wrote it and starred in it with Emily V. Gordon.
Yep.
And it detailed that early, really volatile, and frankly medically traumatic period of their own relationship.
Yeah.
Nanjiani playing himself, essentially, and Zoe Kazan playing Emily Gardner, the character based on Emily.
We should probably stress how difficult that must have been. You're taking these deeply private, complex, maybe even embarrassing moments. The family cultural conflicts, the serious illness, the religious tension, and structuring all of that for a movie audience.
And that's where that philosophical synthesis has to come in, right?
Yeah.
They had to take the messy, chaotic facts of their actual life and shape them into a narrative that felt universal.
Yeah.
About love, acceptance, cross-cultural communication.
And it worked.
It absolutely worked. The film resonated globally because it managed to be intensely specific about, Pakistani-American cultural expectations around arranged marriage versus Western dating, but also profoundly universal in how it explored family love and dealing with crisis.
Yeah.
And of course, to say the industry was actually pretty skeptical at first about such a, quote, niche cultural story, which makes its success even more remarkable.
And the success, I mean, it was undeniable, critically and commercially.
The accolades just pour in. The Big Sick gets them nominated for the Academy Award for Best Original Screenplay, which is huge, especially for a biographical comedy that came out of the stand-up world. They won the Independent Spirit Award for Best First Screenplay, and the American Film Institute, the AFI, picked it as one of the top 10 films of that year.
And financially, it wasn't just critical praise, it was a genuine hit.
Oh, a huge hit for independent cinema. It grossed over $40 million,
Yeah.
which made it the third highest-grossing indie film released in 2017. It basically proved that authentic personal storytelling could absolutely drive massive ticket sales.
So this combination, the critical acclaim, the commercial success, it really cemented his place, didn't it, as a real creative force in Hollywood.
Absolutely. And the direct, tangible result was his invitation in 2018 to join both the actors and the writers branch of the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences.
That's the moment.
That's the moment he transitions, right?
Yeah.
From being a working comic who happened to write a great script to being a permanent fixture in the industry's sort of upper echelon.
Okay. So with that level of recognition, his career takes maybe its most visible, most dramatic pivot yet. This is the move into what we're calling the franchise and transformation era, the big mainstream leap into massive intellectual property. He stops just being a writer-actor. He starts becoming kind of a global brand.
The shift was immediate and, dramatic. He jumped straight into the biggest sandbox there is, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He starred as Kingo the Eternal, who's got cosmic powers but moonlights as a Bollywood star in Eternals back in 2021.
Right.
And he showed commitment to that whole IP, too, voicing the character later in the animated What If series.
Yeah.
That episode, What If Agatha Went to Hollywood.
But he didn't just pick one massive franchise. He kind of went for the double, didn't he? The two main pillars of modern blockbusters?
Correct. Almost immediately after Marvel, he joins the Star Wars universe. He played Haja Estri, that sort of street-smart con artist, in the Disney Plus miniseries Obi-Wan Kenobi in 2022.
So this phase of his career, it demands a totally different skill set, right, than the awkward comedy of Dinesh or the subtle dramedy of The Big Sick. He needed, action chops now and the ability to work within these incredibly rigid franchise storylines.
Exactly. Very different muscles being flexed.
And we also saw him with that, too.
Absolutely. He was leveraging his comedic timing, but in a much more physical way, starring opposite Dave Bautista in the action comedy Stuber in 2019.
Okay.
That same year, his very specific voice got put to use in Men in Black International. He voiced Pawnee, that little alien character. The source material delightfully calls him an alien frog lizard thing.
I remember that character being pretty popular.
Yeah, he stole some scenes. And his commitment to franchises just keeps going. More recently, he appeared as Nadeem Razmati, who becomes the Fire Master in Ghostbusters Frozen Empire in 2024.
Okay, now, we absolutely have to talk about the defining visual moment of this era, which was the intense physical transformation he went through to play Kingo in Eternals. This wasn't just, him getting in shape. This became a huge, massively scrutinized public event.
It really did. And it was an incredible display of discipline, wasn't it? Which, again, you can almost trace back to that rigorous systemic mindset he developed back in college.
Right.
Nanjiani got widespread public attention, went viral, basically in 2019 when he shared those pictures of his body transformation. And it was genuinely shocking for an audience used to seeing him as the, physically slighter, kind of nerdy Dinesh.
Yeah.
It was like this tangible proof point that he was now fully committed to the really high demands of the blockbuster industry. I can do this too.
But here's the crucial nuance, and we need to spend a moment on this because the sources are very clear that the viral fame from that transformation, it had a difficult aftermath for him personally.
Yeah, this is a really profound lesson, maybe, in the cost of that kind of global fame. The sources explicitly state that Nanjiani has since become much less comfortable talking about his body.
Because of the reaction.
Because of the intense, almost relentless amount of attention and scrutiny it got online. It's like when you enter that franchise world, maybe you stop belonging entirely to yourself in the same way. The public's intense focus on his physical form which is totally separate from his intellectual work, his creative work. It just shows how invasive that superhero celebrity system can be. That viral moment, which probably felt exciting at first, seems to have resulted in a pretty significant loss of personal comfort and privacy for him.
That really contextualizes that whole franchise leap perfectly, doesn't it? Massive opportunity, yes, but also potentially profound personal cost. Okay, let's pivot slightly away from the huge blockbusters now and look at the projects where he took maybe the greatest dramatic risks, showcasing his diverse ventures, his context now as a leader, a producer too.
Right, because this next phase really proves his career isn't just about chasing fame or bigger budgets. It's still about artistic exploration. He took on the lead dramatic role of Soman Steve Banerjee.
Right, the Chippendales founder.
Exactly. The very complicated, dark, ultimately hitman hiring founder of the Chippendales dance troupe that was in the Hulu miniseries Welcome to Chippendales, which ran 2022 to 2023.
And that character, I mean, he was manipulative, deeply insecure, eventually murderous.
Yeah.
Just a world away from the persona people knew.
Totally. That role really required the philosophical side of his brain, didn't it, to dissect that kind of moral dissent? And the industry absolutely recognized and rewarded that risk he took.
Oh, so?
Well, that nuanced, really demanding performance earned him a Primetime Emmy nomination for Outstanding Lead Actor in a limited or anthology series or movie.
Wow.
Yeah. That pivot from being primarily known as a comedic writer-actor to becoming a critically acclaimed dramatic lead, that's a powerful statement about his range, his talent, and the discipline, again, to master totally new forms.
And furthermore, it seems like he used his now elevated platform to make sure that the kinds of cross-cultural stories he and Emily V. Gordon had mastered with The Big Sick, that those stories continued to get told.
That's where Little America comes in. That ran from 2020 to 2022 on Apple TV plus Karachi. He was an executive producer and a writer for that anthology series.
And the focus there?
It focuses explicitly on these nuanced, complex, individual stories from immigrants living in the U.S. And this project, it earned him nominations for his writing, recognition as an international program. It really showcases his commitment to using the access he now has to champion diverse, necessary storytelling. Stories that clearly mirror aspects of his own lived experience.
Meanwhile, almost quietly, he's become one of the most reliable and prolific voice actors working today, lending that versatile voice to some really high-profile animation and games.
The voice work is constant and impressive.
Yeah.
And it shows his deep connections back to that geek culture that kind of launched him, right?
Yeah.
I mean, think of Prismo on Adventure Time, such a beloved character. Or his complex work in the video game world. He voiced Reggie in The Walking Dead, Season 2 game, and Jeroen Tan, that political character in Mass Effect, Andromeda.
Right?
More recently, providing comic relief as Plimpton the Ostrich in Doolittle, or voicing the lead duck, Mac, in that animated hit Migration just last year, 2023. His commitment to this field, it shows a real respect, I think, for the kind of world building that gaming and animation demand.
Okay, let's connect back to the listener for a second, and also back to that essential partnership with Emily V. Gordon, because during a global crisis, they provided a very specific kind of comfort, didn't they?
Yeah, that was the launch of their podcast, Staying In with Emily and Kumail. Yeah. It started in March 2020, right when the world was shutting down for the COVID-19 pandemic.
Right.
And they just candidly chronicled their own experiences dealing with isolation. And the media response was overwhelmingly positive. Our sources show it was widely acclaimed as a welcome respite. GQ described it as being consistently endearing, actually useful, and often hilarious.
So they used their personal connection, their honesty, to create this sort of collective, comforting thing during a really anxious time.
Exactly. It reinforced their brand, if you will, as these accessible, relatable, authentic partners.
Looking forward now, his recent work, his upcoming work, it just confirms he's still highly sought after across every medium, film, TV, and now, interestingly, a return to the stage.
His versatility just keeps going. It's remarkable.
Yeah.
He was recently part of the ensemble that won the Screen Actors Guild Award for Outstanding Performance by an Ensemble in a Comedy Series for Only Murders in the Building. That was for 2025.
Great show.
Yeah. And he also has a confirmed guest role coming up in the second season of Rand Johnson's crime mystery series, Poker Face. He'll be playing Joseph Gator Joe Pilson.
Okay. And the most maybe exciting recent announcement is that Commitment you mentioned returned to the theatrical stage.
Yeah, that feels like a significant full circle moment, doesn't it? He's confirmed to play Mary's husband in the Broadway play Oh, Mary, with its run scheduled to start in August 2025.
Wow, Broadway.
Yeah. For a performer who started his career doing that grueling one-man autobiographical show, making a deliberate return to the stage like this, it confirms his commitment to live performance never really went away.
And still doing comedy, too.
Oh, yeah. For his comedy roots, he's scheduled to perform at the Belly Laughs Comedy and Food Festival in L.A. in June 2025.
Yeah.
So keeping those muscles flexed, too.
Okay. And finally, just briefly, we should probably note his political and humanitarian context just as framing for his public decisions.
Right. Politically, Nanjiani identifies as a Democrat, and he does use his platform sometimes to support humanitarian efforts. Notably, the sources mention him donating the proceeds of an L.A. Largo show back in October 2023 to help fund Doctors Without Borders during the Israel-Gaza war. So that action just illustrates that his engagement with the world seems informed by, maybe, that philosophical perspective, a sense of social responsibility.
Okay. That brings us towards the end, looking at the summary of accolades. If we try to synthesize all the recognition he's received, it really highlights a diversity that, honestly, few contemporary artists can match. He's winning awards, getting nominations for writing, for dramatic acting, and for ensemble performance.
It's true. Let's look at the highest honors again. In writing and producing, the absolute core is that Academy Award nomination for Best Original Screenplay for The Big Sick, shared with Emily V. Gordon.
Right.
Plus their Independent Spirit Award win for that same script. That immediately positioned him as this premier creative voice.
And his acting nominations really showcase that mastery of different tones, different genres.
Absolutely. The 2 Primetime Emmy Award nominations illustrate the range perfectly. One was for Outstanding Guest Actor in a Drama Series for his lead role in that Twilight Zone episode, The Comedian, which was this intense, contained, dramatic piece. And then the more recent nomination for Outstanding Lead Actor in a Limited Series for that really demanding, complex performance in Welcome to Chippendales. It just confirms he can pivot between comedy and serious drama pretty flawlessly now.
And his continued strength in ensemble projects is also a powerful indicator of his value, right, to major productions.
It is. That recent Screen Actors Guild Award win for the ensemble in Only Murders in the Building, it demonstrates his status as a key team player in prestige comedy. And we could also remember the earlier SAG nomination the whole cast of The Big Sick got. It just confirms he seems to enhance the collective performance of whatever project he joins. Plus, things like the Cannes Bar Award for storytelling, the San Diego International Film Festival Auteur Award. They confirm the industry recognizes the unique sort of authorial control he has over his career path.
So we've tracked this incredibly winding, fascinating narrative arc. From growing up in Karachi, achieving this unusual intellectual mastery at Grinnell Computer Science and Philosophy.
The core combo.
Conquering the stand-up circuit, achieving massive Oscar-nominated success by turning his own life into The Big Sick, and then executing this incredibly disciplined physical and professional transformation to enter the Marvel and Star Wars franchises, all while still producing powerful immigrant stories like Little America.
The trajectory, when you lay it out like that, it doesn't feel accidental, does it? It feels like a study in calculated risk and just relentless, versatile execution. And that brings us right back to that unexpected start, that intellectual architecture that seems to underpin everything.
The double major, which we figured out wasn't a mistake maybe, but an infrastructure.
Exactly. His intellectual foundation, blending the systematic precision of computer science with the moral synthesis, the critical perspective of philosophy that feels like the ultimate secret weapon.
How so? Summing up.
Well, it gave him the mental agility to quickly grasp and execute the technical world of Silicon Valley, right? It gave him the ability to synthesize the complex emotional and cultural narratives needed for The Big Sick.
Yeah.
And it gave him the sheer discipline required to physically optimize his body for a superhero role. He's equally skilled, it seems, at analyzing code and analyzing the human condition.
That is the definition of intellectual versatility driving creative success.
It really is. So here's the final provocative thought we want to leave you with. Given that this uniquely prepared, incredibly disciplined, and critically minded individual has now pretty much conquered stand-up, writing, producing, dramatic acting, blockbuster franchises, voice work, what new creative field might that blended skill set lead him to explore next? Could that original computer science foundation, now combined with his proven narrative mastery, maybe lead him to become, say, a major feature film director, but one who's fundamentally interested in using highly technical new forms of storytelling, maybe leveraging virtual reality or interactive media, perhaps using those tools to explore the complexities of immigrant identity in ways we haven't seen before. His next pivot might just be the most intellectually thrilling one yet.
That's a powerful thought to chew on the future of storytelling, potentially resting on a philosopher coder. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive.
Thanks, everyone.
We'll catch you next time.